Bill, I'm at wit's end here. I know I'm supposed to analyze this data so you can move it to the next step in our process and we can get the project moving forward. But the data came to me late from the data supplier. My computer conked out for 2 days. I'm really struggling here. I know I'm not going to make the deadline, and I really don't want to let you down, and I don't want to put the team behind. And as the person saying that, they're tearing up a little bit. And the supervisor says, crying about that, aren't you? I'll give you something to cry about. Everyone on the team figures you're lazy anyway. So, it's no surprise. Fellow Toastmasters, please don't follow this example. The Toastmasters Leadership Excellence Series, the purpose of it is to, through the portal of Toastmasters, help us develop leadership skills that we're going to learn to use both within Toastmasters and in our careers and in the rest of our lives. Tonight I'm going to focus on providing meaningful feedback for people in a way that doesn't send a person weeping out of your office and committed to firebomb the building. By manner of motivation, sometime in every one of our lives, we're going to be put in charge of a team, whether it's helping out organize a soccer team or a picnic, or developing the next greatest mind and world-altering strain of coffee bean. We're going to have some responsibility to a team and to develop or to deliver a product. So, in either of these cases, or in any of the myriad of cases that may come to us, the way in which we deliver feedback can make the difference between the team successfully completing its goals, glory all around, trumpets blaring as they cross the finish line, or coming in on hands and knees, bleeding, beaten, and really just relieved to be finished. Or, worse still, being so demoralized and so dysfunctional that they give up halfway through. They say, I'm out. Tonight, the structure that Toastmasters provides, I want to give a little introduction to that. I'll give you 4 steps. They call them steps, but I see it more as a guiding strategy to follow. And then 7 tips. So as you act out the strategy, follow the tips to really provide meaningful, positive, effective feedback. My manner of introduction. Feedback does great things. It helps you achieve goals and keeps your team together. So you have 4 steps. The first is set clear and concise objectives. This is the very crux of it all. At least so far. It's this first line. But really, this gives your team a chance to succeed from the outset. There are many, many process and business improvement seminars and books that really emphasize clarity. One of them is setting clear objectives and goals. If people don't understand what you want from them and when and how, they really don't have a good chance at delivering it. I have a friend who's a lawyer who is told, we're bike partners. We're riding bikes home yesterday, she says. One of the partners told me, prepare this brief on this case. Okay, we can do it. She does it. Lawyer thing, boom. And the next day, the partner gets it and says, oh, this is garbage. I have to rewrite the whole damn thing. Enthused? No. But she gets this consistently. this kind of treatment. This is a failure of clarity. One of the techniques that a lot of people recommend are called SMART goals. S-M-A-R-T. And definitions are shifty in what they stand for. What I've chosen to select are specific, measurable, so as you're setting goals and objectives, make them these things. Specific and measurable so that somebody can say this is the product that we're after. Actionable, something that somebody can do right now and you empower them to do it. Results oriented, so that they're all targeted on the goal of the team. And timely. This is your next task is due by such a time, and I'll be checking in by then. So SMART goals, and that's an entire lecture in and of itself, all around setting clear objectives. Step 2 is to observe your team members' performance. Once you've delegated something, your responsibility hasn't ended, it's barely begun. You've got to be monitoring to see if they're still on course, or if there's some friction or dysfunction developing. And just kind of be alert to it. What are people doing? Are they doing nothing? Or are they doing something that is in alignment with marching toward the goals or not? The purpose of this is to catch something early so that you can make a mid-course correction and not waste time, energy, and enthusiasm. Step 3 is to provide immediate feedback when needed. And it's either going to be needed in the positive sense or the negative sense. That's fine. But you provide it right away before you get too far off course. An example, a manager that one person in the room had once had a project turned in to them. And 5 weeks later, the person inquired, well, where's my project? I need you to sign it so we can send a contract here. At that point, the manager said, oh, well, I found these flaws in it and it needs to go back. Okay. Fail. The enthusiasm, the eagerness to succeed and to excel just went right off the shelf and onto the ground there. So, before things get too far off track, get right back onto it. Now, this part, though, can also be the scariest step of the whole process. Because at this point, a lot of times, you may need to say, you're not quite on track, or you're not achieving what I was hoping. Okay. All right. Happily, sometimes you say, yeah, you know, you're being the cheerleader. But in any case, take a deep breath, acknowledge this needs some correction, in a corrected case. Take another deep breath, and don't act, but make your plan. Take another deep breath after you've made your plan, and then call them in and go ahead and get started on the process. Because the passage of time works against the project if it's not on the rails. The fourth step is to recognize positive performance. Hey, here's the good news, right? If everything's going swimmingly, don't miss that opportunity. Use it. Encourage your people. Celebrate them. And if somebody has had to be corrected, note, always correct in private, celebrate in public. And if they've needed to be corrected and they are making progress, give it to them. Give them what they deserve. Give them, hey, Christine, you know what? Those kimchi pancakes you made last month,
they were awesome.
Yesterday's were so much of an improvement. We're really right on track with digestion and everything. Man, oh man, I can't wait for tomorrow. I wish you made me breakfast. breakfast every day. But do. Get out there and be the cheerleader for your team. And when you do that, be specific in your praise. What did you do? How did that help the team? How did that make people feel? And then wrap it up with encourage them to do more of the same. So now we're going to kick into the tips that I promised you. 7 tips as you march through your feedback giving career. Number 1, be specific. Why, oh why, would there be so much emphasis on being specific? Because it really is the tools, the keys to the kingdom. If a person cannot know what they need to do, or doesn't have the tools to deliver it, or know the time frame, you're really setting them up to fail, and that's your responsibility. So give them the details of it, and they'll be in much better stead. Now here's one that is really important as well. Speak for yourself. You are not, as in Toastmasters when we are providing evaluations, you are not all knowledge and the keeper of wisdom from sea to shining sea on how to give speeches. But you're one person with an opinion and an observation. Offer that. Now in the role where you're a team lead, that's a little different because you also have authority and responsibility for the deliverable. But the fact remains that you can speak for yourself, and in that doing, you allow yourself to personalize the experience. Double-edged sword here, right? Be careful. Gauge beforehand. This is why you make your plan ahead of time. So you, and I need to plan these things because I can oftentimes misspeak if I so impromptu. But if you speak for yourself, it allows you to not come off in an impressive way. There's another tip that follows this, but you should avoid entries like everyone thinks whatever, or people are saying whatever, which really can set a person into a defensive posture. That's not going to work for you. Rather, you could say, very factually, I saw this behavior, or I'm concerned about this other behavior. Doesn't hurt at all. Be sincere. There is no need for you to be the man, for you to be the organization, for you to be anything except for yourself, who is a human responsible for a team coming up with a product. Well, okay. Doing this is some alchemy, I find, that helps me reframe myself when I'm providing feedback. Hit a funny example later, funny for you, not for me, of how you can be with the team. It's part of the definition of a team when you make it from you in a sincere fashion, and you get, it clears a lot of clutter preemptively. Next, emphasize how the actions affect the team, rather than you're a jerk, you're lazy, you're this. Rather, well, this isn't quite getting done on time, and that's setting this behind and the next person behind and the next person behind. It may affect our performance review overall. What do you need? What can I do? You know, there's a whole different feel to that. Another note on that is people often don't recognize how their actions affect people around them. So it could be not a productivity thing. It could be just an attitude that's picked up. Now, here's the aforementioned example. At work, I'm a shop steward, and so sometimes I have to call out actions or inappropriate actions by management. A lot of times that can come across as fault finding or angry. I've found that I'm a pretty happy guy, or I try to be. This does not come across When people see me at work, and if they are watching me in meetings, and this is what they're seeing, they're creating a whole different image of who I am than who I am. And it's not they're creating it, it's me creating it. I have power over that. So I've altered my delivery somewhat, and this has helped being focused on that. Next, use the I technique in tips. In short terms, I would say that means use sentences that start with I. There are a whole lot of counseling techniques, or a lot of counseling advice about using I statements to help people get along in interpersonal communications. Really, again, this is reiterating, make this sincere, make it from you. You're not speaking in global statements, use I statements. And when you finish, end on a positive note. I really thank you for having the courage to come to this meeting, because it's been really awkward lately. And I know that you're going to give it your best go, because you just said so. I think that we have a much brighter future here. And do come to me if things get off the rails at all, or if you need another hand. I know you can do it. We're going to check back in on you next week. Next, recognize improvement. I covered this before. Really just be a cheerleader, especially when people are in the vulnerable space of being counseled or being corrected. Be ready to be their cheerleader. Keep them going. And if they deserve, if they've corrected something, praise them. If they haven't, or if they're still confused, fine. Make another correction in private. Or coach them for a little bit. Assign them a coach. Be their coach. In conclusion, I'm going to reiterate everything, and then meaningful feedback reinforces outstanding teamwork and all of the things that I've just said. That's all true. And when we're responsible for leading a team and delivering a product, the manner in which we deliver feedback can really be pivotal in the outcomes that we get from that. And the feedback can reinforce dark space. It can reinforce positive performance. It can correct problems early. It can build morale, and it'll increase the chances of success. So, my friends, when that person comes into your office, laying their heart out on the line, we're done with that. And I was trying to do that, but that's all right. When they come into your office, vulnerable and afraid, and having not achieved their goals, I hope you'll go through these 4 steps and 7 tips so that they go bounding out of your office relieved, re-inspired, and knowing that they have a solid ally. Adam Joseph.
Karen, 1 minute, please.